YouTube, how's it going? NateGreat321 back again with my 100th video. Who would have ever thought that I would reach 100 videos? Certainly not myself. I didn't really envision this going on for 2 years like it has. I guess it has been over 2 years I've been on YouTube, but it's been a fantastic ride through everything, getting my first 100 subs, moving up into getting to know people in the community, everything about it. It's just been fantastic. So I want to first and foremost thank all of you, my viewers, those who comment, those who sent me messages, those who I've genuinely become friends with online. And you've allowed me to share my passion with you of gaming, everything about it, where I can't necessarily share that with all my friends in real life. Not all of them are into games. I can always come to YouTube, and I always know there's a community there who I can talk to about any kind of gaming sort of stuff I want to talk about. So it's a real nice outlet. It's a great community to get involved in. All you guys are awesome. I want to thank you very much. Without you guys, I obviously would not be here recording and even doing this. So thank you very much. Secondly, I'm starting to get a little sick, so if I have to take a little drink break in here to clear my throat, excuse me for that. But I wanted to do something different for my 100th video. I didn't want to necessarily just do a thank you video or a shout out video. I've done shout outs and stuff in the past, and the thing I don't like about shout outs is oftentimes people feel excluded from them if they're not mentioned. They think that if we don't include them in a shout out video, we don't like them or something like that. Not necessarily the case. So I just want to avoid all that, and I'd rather do something a little different because like I said, this allows me to share my passion, my video game passion with you guys out there. And I thought, what better way, and it's good timing too, for my 100th video to share with you my memories of my favorite franchise of all time. And that is a pretty high statement. There's a couple franchises out there that I've enjoyed through the years, like the Metal Gear Solid series, for instance, and others along the way. But I guess if you had to ask me what my favorite franchise of all time is, that would have to be the Battlefield franchise. And it is, time relevant because Battlefield 3 just came out yesterday. I'm recording this on Wednesday the 26th. Battlefield came out here in the US on Tuesday, October 25th. This was my most anticipated game of the year, for sure. This is the whole reason I built that new gaming computer. Well, 99% of the reason, really. And from what I've played so far, I really enjoy it. The multiplayer is a ton of fun. Single player is kind of what you expect, but multiplayer is where it's at. So this is going to be a sweet game down the road. But I'll get to this one next video. I'm going to split this up into two parts, a sort of Battlefield retrospective, if you will. I'm going to talk about what I consider the first half of my Battlefield experience in this video, and I'll talk about the second half, starting with the original Bad Company game in the next video. So sit back. This could be lengthy. I don't really have a plan how long this will go, but it's my 100th video, so I'll do whatever the heck I want. Who cares? So you can't talk about Battlefield without starting with the very original, and probably still to this day my favorite game of all time, Battlefield 1942. Now this is the deluxe edition. It comes with one of the later expansion packs, The Road to Rome, but getting ahead of myself a little bit. How I started off playing Battlefield, let's see. I've always enjoyed military history. I've always been really fascinated by anything like that. I played the Medal of Honor games on the original PlayStation. I remember renting those and really enjoying the atmosphere, and just that sort of spurred me to read up on any sort of World War II history I could. I just soaked up every bit of information I could. I loved history. Coming out of high school, I wanted to be a history teacher, so I mean, things like that just really stuck with me, and I was just so fascinated about everything, the technology, the strategies, everything about it was just fascinating to me. So around the time this game came out, I believe in 2003, and prior to that, I wasn't a huge PC gamer. Our family didn't have a PC that was really game worthy. You couldn't play the modern games on it, the then modern games on it. Only one of my friends really had a PC that you could sort of manage to play like Counter-Strike on, so we do that every once in a while. But what we really like to do is go to a local place called Cyber Arena, which is pretty much just a big LAN center. It was there, and there's another place called PC Plaza, where it's basically you just pay by the hour. You go in, and they have computers there loaded up with games, and you just sit with your buddies all in a row or however they have it set up, and you just play games on a LAN network. I guess I can't think if you could play online. I think you could. But that's what we do. We'd all pay and play there for 5-6 hours or something. And this was probably late middle school, early high school for me, around the early 2000s. So that was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed that. And Counter-Strike was the main game we played, but obviously after a while you sort of get bored with that, and we sort of explore our own games, see what else they have installed on those computers. So I dabbled in some like real-time strategy games, some like excuse me, some Rise of Nations, some Command and Conquer, Generals, that kind of thing. But eventually, I fell upon a game I'd never heard of before, Battlefield 1942. I said, okay, I'll try it. And I was immediately blown away. I wasn't playing against people online, it was just against bots, if I remember correctly. But just the concept of it, the wide openness of the game. And if you've never played this game, you gotta understand that before this, there really weren't games like it. I mean, it's sort of the common complaint now, even, that games were so tightly compacted, or corridor shooters and things like that. It was a really small sort of arena-style shooters, if you will, like Unreal and Quake and Counter-Strike to a certain extent. They were all pretty confined, and maybe like one open space in the middle and tunnels sort of surrounding. That was sort of the standard map layout. But for these games, to walk from one corner of the map to the other would take you forever. I mean, it was unbelievable that if you just looked off in the distance, you couldn't even see the end of the map. You had to get in a vehicle to get to the end of the map. The inclusion of vehicles in this game just added a whole new level to it, and it really felt like all-out war, whereas the other games, to me, sort of felt, I always liken them to something like paintball, where it's really confined, really fast-paced, just really quick. But this, to me, felt a lot more like an all-out war, because it included vehicles. You could have 64 players at once on this, which was just mind-blowing to me. And so this was the game I played from then on at the PC Plaza and Cyber Arena and those places. And eventually my friends got hooked, and we played this game a ton. And I remember probably around 2003, 2004, whenever this deluxe edition came out, my family ended up getting a new computer. And I knew the first thing I needed to do was get this game. And I got it. And man, it was the best feeling in the world to be able to play it whenever I wanted for free and not have to pay by the hour to play it. And I played the heck out of this game. I don't even want to know how many hours of my life I would say I wasted them, because I treasure those hours, but you know what I mean. I must have lost months to this game. I mean, it was unbelievable experience for its time. It was really just something so different, and it was really what I wanted in a shooter. Not a lot of people can say that their ideal game, is out there somewhere. People sort of have an idea in their head. Oh, I would like this game if only they did this, or I would like this genre if only they did this. For the time, this was everything I wanted. I couldn't ask for more, really. It answered all my calls, really, and it was just unbelievable for its time. I can still, to this day, if I loaded this up on a computer, I could play this and enjoy this just as much as I did almost 10 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but this holds a real special place in my heart, and this is definitely a milestone along the way for my video game history, and it's still probably my favorite game of all time. That being said, so there's the first game. I think about a year later, I don't have it with me, but I did buy it. A game called Battlefield Vietnam came out, which honestly it kind of felt like an expansion pack. The graphics were a little better. They added jets to it, which was kind of cool. They added helicopters. It's a Vietnam era game, so you'd expect that. They added some tweaks here and there, but for the most part, it didn't feel like a fully fleshed out sequel. And seeing as it came only like a year after Battlefield, it's not really surprising. And it was received that way, I think. It wasn't nearly as popular as the first game. It made some improvements, and people recognized that, but it was a little more kind of infantry based. It wasn't as wide open, and you didn't have the option for vehicles, as many vehicles as the last game. It was a lot more focused on sort of infantry action, which is kind of good sometimes, but it didn't really feel like 1942, to me at least. So I kept playing 42 really for the most part, and Vietnam was really laggy for me, so it wasn't a great experience, but it's still a good game. I think it's a little underappreciated amongst the Battlefield canon, I guess. But the next big milestone in the series is definitely Battlefield 2, which I believe came out in 2005. So I would have been a sophomore, or no, I guess I would have been a junior or senior in high school around that time. And this was leaps and bounds above Battlefield 1942. Graphically, this game just looked amazing for the time. And this actually, the same computer that we got that I played 1942 on, started to struggle a little bit. It started to show its age when this game came out just a couple years later. And load times were awful and everything like that. But I pushed through it. because I love this game. This game was fantastic for its time. It was the first one I can remember, first game I played. It was a modern shooter. Everything up until that point had been World War II or Vietnam. Everything had been in the past. But this was the first one that I remember that really brought it to the modern day. You know, this was what was going on at the time in Iraq, which was a little surreal, a little weird, but it was just kind of refreshing to see something new. And there was so many new options for new technologies and vehicles and things like that it just took it to a whole nother level than the comparatively kind of basic World War II shooters you saw in the past. This had everything, you know, it had the helicopters and jets and stuff like that of Vietnam, but it had the wide open battlefields from the original game. So there were certain maps on there that really felt wide open. I think Gulf of Oman is one that sticks out in my mind. I want to say that was maybe a demo level or something like that. But that game, the U.S. starts on an aircraft carrier, and you sort of fly in on a jet onto this beach. It really exemplifies what Battlefield's all about. And there's actually maps in this game that are being redone with the new Frostbite engine for Battlefield 3, and that'll be coming out. They haven't a release date, but you know it's obvious that this game really has held its own. People really are clamoring for these maps again. Even now in 2011 with Battlefield 3, so I think that'll be fun to see that. But overall, this game slightly below 1942. I just got to give the nod to the original just because of what it brought to me personally and just how it introduced the whole Battlefield series to me. But this is a very close second of my all-time favorites for sure for Battlefield. I sunk a ton of hours into this. I think they still have stats. I could go look at my old, profile and see what my stats were for this game. I don't know if I'd want to, just to, ton of hours, months set into this, and I can remember vividly with this and 1942 calling up my buddies, picking out a TeamSpeak server and having to give them the TeamSpeak the ID or whatever, and then they type it in. We all join TeamSpeak, and we would just go on for hours and just trash talk each other and stuff. Just great times, man. I miss the times like that where you could just, do that with your buddies. Right now, we're all in different states and on different schedules and stuff, so it's a little more difficult for sure. But great times playing this game. I can remember there was two friends that I always play with. We'd always call each other up and get in squads and stuff, and it's just a great time. Good experience for sure. I love that game, Battlefield 2. And the next one that came out probably around my freshman year of college, something like that. This is Battlefield 2142. They ran out of places to go, so they went into the future. And I was a little weary about this. I didn't get it right when it came out. I think I got it on a Black Friday sale for really cheap. And I had just bought a new laptop heading into college, so it could handle some games. I was playing Oblivion on it at the time, so this game ran pretty well on it, so I didn't have any issues as far as that's concerned. I don't know, I just didn't get into this game as much as I did the other ones, probably because I was, in college and I was going out with friends and doing things like that. I wasn't stuck at home like I was in high school, really, so I had sort of freedom to go out and do other things, so I didn't pay as much attention to this as I might have the other games. But for the most part, it was a good experience. I thought the infantry combat felt tighter, felt a little better in Battlefield 2 to me. They switched up the classes, which is actually what they're using right now in Battlefield 3. They combined the medic and the assault into one class, and then they had the standard kind of recon, scout, and engineer. So I think that's what they had in this game. But because it's a future game, near future, I guess you might want to say, they don't have laser guns. It's not like Star Wars or anything like that. It's still bullets. It's still relatively believable vehicles and weaponry, but it's kind of cool that they implemented these kind of walker machines, two-legged sort of tanks, I guess, and flying kind of hover jet things. And they also, something they introduced in this is called the Titan mode. And if you've played Bad Company in the past, it's pretty much the precursor to Rush mode, basically. Typically in Battlefield games, what you did before is it would be a map with maybe 5 different points on the map, and you just have to take control of those points. It's Conquest mode. That's the standard Battlefield mode. That's what I always play personally in any Battlefield game. But this introduced something different. It sort of switched it up. It's a little more of a clear-cut offensive and defensive game mode. You have the attacking team that basically has to neutralize or destroy some like magnetic field things on the ground, and then after that's done, what that does is it takes off the shield from the Titan, which is just a big spaceship kind of floating in the sky, and then the attacking team gets to like launch in these little pods up into the Titan, and then they assault the actual like spaceship. So it turns from this wide open sort of standard Battlefield game into this really tight corridor, intense sort of shooter. So it's kind of the best of both worlds there, and a lot of people really liked it. Personally, I didn't really like it that much. I thought the Titan parts got a little too hectic, and it was just a lot of campers and stuff, people exploiting corridors and stuff, which typically I don't like. But it was still fun. It was something different, and obviously people liked it and have been clamoring for something like that since, and they've gotten rush mode in games following, obviously. But a lot of people point to this as being their favorite among the sort of first half of the series. And it's not my favorite, I think. Out of all of the ones that come out, this is probably my third favorite, maybe, out of the four that I mentioned. I don't know, something about it. It's just bad timing, I think, personally, for me. It just came out at a time where I wasn't really playing a lot of video games, on PC at least. So that sort of stinks, but for the most part, it was a well-made game, pretty well polished. It was definitely the best looking and most sort of the tightest game, I think, out of all the ones that came before this. I think it was the most polished for sure. But yeah, I guess that'll sum up the sort of first half of the Battlefield series for me. Actually, I think there was another game that came out around the time of Battlefield 2. It was a console game for the Xbox, and maybe PlayStation 2. It was called like Modern Combat or something like that. It was okay. My friend rented it and we played it. I never got into it. It was fine for a console game, but I would definitely much prefer just playing Battlefield 2 at the time. But I think that was pretty much it for Battlefield, what I consider the sort of first half of the series. The next half, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about Bad Company, the original, Bad Company 2 for the Xbox, and then we'll talk a little bit about Battlefield 3, the new game that just came out. So stay tuned to that. I guess that'll be my 101st video. That'll be coming in maybe tomorrow. We'll see. But for now, NateGreat321, signing out.